Welcome everybody to this episode of the Ninth Grade Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Dutchko. Today, we have the three co-chairs of the EPSD Mental Health Symposium that's starting next week here in the district, which is a really cool online event. And they're here to talk to us today about all the different things going on. There's a lot of different sessions, asynchronous sessions, sections you can go to live. So lots of good stuff here, touching on a topic that we've discussed earlier in the season in the podcast, which is student mental health. And we actually just talked a little bit about that on our last episode about getting out in the snow and kind of dealing with all this stuff here at the beginning of the second semester. So we've been touching on this topic a whole lot. So our three people here today. So for her return visit, she was actually part of a two-parter earlier in the season. So I don't know if we're going to call this her third visit or her second. It's Mrs. Cignarella. She's our school psychologist here at Emmaus High School. We have Amy Williams, who is the community and school representative here at Emmaus High School as well. And then we have Lisa Shirvinski, at school counselor from LMMS. So if you came from LMMS and you're listening to this and you're a current ninth grader, you might recognize her voice and her image here on the video as well. So thanks a lot for joining us, everybody.
Thanks, Mr. Stechko, for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So I often, as Miss Cignarella knows, and if I am going to refer back to her, if you want to listen to Miss Cignarella's ninth grade experience, go back and listen to the earlier podcast that she was on with Dr. Pinho about what the school psychologist does. We were rehashing, if you remember, if you listened to that episode, she was telling the story about the cream cheese in the hair. She's not going to go back into that story again, but it still haunts her every day, she says, but maybe not. So she's off the hook today, but for our two new people, we always ask our guests to talk about their ninth grade experience. And I always tell the adults, you don't have to mention the year that you were in ninth grade, and you don't have to mention the school if you don't want to incriminate yourself in any way. But as much as you are willing to share with our listeners, the better. So whoever wants to go first can, and take it away.
I don't mind going first. I've kind of thought a little bit about this, and I will incriminate myself, or maybe even age myself a little bit. But I went to Emmaus Junior High for ninth grade. So I was the high man on the totem pole in ninth grade instead of just starting in high school. So I was grateful for that. One of the things that I remember most about high school was this is when I started when I got into sports, and I tried out for the volleyball team. I didn't make the team, but I was invited to come back and practice and manage the team, and was able to make it the following years after that. But it taught me about perseverance and, just working hard at something to accomplish my goals. So that was definitely a highlight of my ninth grade year.
So on a totally unrelated note, if you're watching the video, I have my Emmaus volleyball jacket on today, not knowing that Miss Williams was a volleyball player here at Emmaus High School. So coincidences abound here. This was on the $2 sale of the old athletic equipment at the end of the year that they have here at the high school. So this is a great jacket that I love wearing out in public when people then ask me, "Oh, you coach volleyball?" And I say, "Nope. I just know how to find a good sale." So we had somebody on earlier in the season, Clarence Lamb, who also talked about how he was at the junior high and then it merged into the high school. And he was one of the first classes that did that. He went on to become a state senator in Maryland. So a couple of people have told us the story about how Emmaus used to have ninth grade, not in the high school, but then transitioning up. So an interesting story there. And again, we always talk to people about like what they were involved in. And your story again is, being involved in volleyball, getting involved. And that's the memory that kind of sticks with you from your ninth grade experience. So how about you, Mrs. Shirvinski? What is your ninth grade recollections? What are your recollections like?
So I just remember ninth grade as a very confusing time. And a time where I remember I went to a much smaller school than Emmaus High School. I graduated from Tamaqua High School, and our graduating class was about 150 students. So it's much smaller, but I just remember ninth grade, I can remember the cafeteria and just trying to find, what group of friends that you kind of fit in with. And I felt at that time, because like we merged from a junior high school into ninth grade, just like Emmaus does. You know, you had friends from junior high school, but then friends started changing and you started making new friends. You started joining different things. So it was just like I felt like my friends were switching. I had old friends, I had new friends. I was trying to figure out what path I would take in ninth grade. You know, I remember going to see my counselor at the time and talking with her. Never did I think I'd be a counselor at that time. I was actually interested in like being a teacher and actually possibly being a lawyer at that time. But it's funny how things just kind of come around, and now I am a counselor. So I encourage you during that time, until you know, it takes time to kind of find yourself and find out what you're good at and what path you're going to take. And you know, I encourage you to reach out to your counselors, because they're there to kind of help direct you on that path. So that's kind of my ninth grade experience. I did get involved in school, which I think helped. I was part of the band. I twirled baton back then.
Oh.
Yeah. And I did it in college also. So that was like a lot of my time. So, and dance. So those are things that, like, I think, you know, getting involved and finding that group of people that are into the same thing as you is really important, because, you know, it can be a very scary experience in ninth grade, because it's a big place, and you're not really sure what path you're going to go on, and finding, you know, getting involved in clubs and different activities, sports can really help with that.
You are definitely our first baton twirler that's ever been on the podcast. So congratulations for that. Like, so what is, you know, I have to ask this question as a follow-up. So a college baton twirler, what is that? Is that part of the, like the band? Is that part of like the marching band? Like, are you the one that's like, you know, leading the charge there? Like what does a college baton twirler do?
Well, mostly, you can do more competition. I did more with the band though. I didn't get into competition. I had some friends that were really into like competition twirling. I stayed more, they like at my high school, they didn't really offer it much, but I know some schools like in Lehigh Valley are into competition twirling. And, so I had, you know, some friends in college that were into that, but so you make up dances and then you twirl to them, and it goes with what the band's doing.
And it's just another example of like, especially for students at the high school and especially at Emmaus High School, there are so many different things to get involved with, like, you know, and I'm sure that, you know, there are probably multiple people that might be listening right now, or, you know, are at Emmaus High School that might be into baton twirling, and they're kind of looking for that outlet, or they're looking for other people. So it's kind of cool to kind of, you know, just anything that you're really interested in as a school of our size, there's got to be somebody out there that either wants to start a club or is involved in a club already. Like I advise the game club, and we have students that are into all different things in the game club, and they kind of find that little niche with, you know, like-minded students there as well too. So I think that kind of leads into our main topic for today. So I appreciate you guys taking the time out to rehash your ninth grade experiences. Everyone's looking and feeling okay. Nobody's having like nervous flashbacks. I know Miss Cignarella got a little fired up during our conversation about her ninth grade experience, and also told us that it kind of almost led her to go down the counseling road a little bit at that time as well too. So it's just kind of interesting when you have those experiences. You never know, like you said, Ms. Shirvinski, you never know where they're going to take you. But you know, we kind of all arrived somewhere, and where we've arrived is the three of you are working together on this mental health symposium here. It's been all over the web, all over on social media. And I figured it's an event. It's going to go on for 2 weeks. And if really right now is like a crucial time, like so much talk between parents and the community of like, we need to get kids back in school and all these different things. And we're not going to go down that road today, but one of the things they often bring up is this idea of mental health. So can you give us what you got about this mental health symposium that's starting on February 15th next week?
So the mental health symposium originally started back in 2019. And that, you know, that was obviously pre-COVID. And during that time, the symposium was in person. And we just logistically had it on a Saturday morning, and, you know, which is also unfortunately a time when a lot of parents and students had sports activities. So it was what we felt was going to be the most useful at that time to try to reach families, and what worked for our presenters and for the organization team. But last year it was kind of set up to do the same exact thing, except it was canceled just before COVID happened. It happened, I think we closed the following week. So that got canceled. So when we started this school year, I reached out to Ms. Shirvinski and Ms. Williams, and I said, we need to do this, but let's see if we can do it virtually. And we've been working very closely with the tech resource specialists in the district. And I have to say, and Ms. Shirvinski and Ms. Williams and I were talking just before we came on to this podcast, and how pleased we are with kind of what's developed from this. It's surpassed even my expectations so far. The number of presenters that we have has grown exponentially. We have people from many different areas of support. So we have people from East Penn. So we have East Penn school counselors coming. We have East Penn school psychologists presenting. We have an administrator from the district presenting. We have the English language learner department chair and teacher presenting. So we're trying to make sure that even we have some Spanish resources. On our website, we actually have the main page, and then we also have the entire main page is also translated into Spanish for our Spanish speaking families. We also have many different community members, and a lot of credit I give to Communities in Schools. So thank you, Ms. Williams. And the community agencies that we've been able to connect to bring them on board for this. We have the National Alliance on Mental Illness, Lehigh Valley, so NAMI LV, the Karen Foundation, the Center for Humanistic Change, Valley Youth House, Crime Victims Council, and we also have representatives from our intermediate unit, the Carbon Lehigh Intermediate Unit. We've been able to bring on, sorry, did I forget one?
LVHN as well.
Yes, we have a representative she's actually the director of the school-based mental health initiative from Lehigh Valley Health Network, which we're really excited to have her. We also have two professors from local colleges and universities. We have Dr. Erica Bagley from Muhlenberg College that will be joining us, and Dr. George DePaul, who's going to be participating in one of the mini panel discussions on mental health disorders and trends, and he's from Lehigh University. So a wide range of resources and professionals from all different areas, and all from within our community.
So lots to kind of talk about in that one. There's so many different people. Like I didn't know, I counted on February 9th that there were 21 different presenters. So I might be off in my numbers, but I think I counted 21 different ones. It's up from 13 from last year, if I counted that number correctly. So I think it's growing, like you said. Is there anything like this, like any other schools in the Lehigh Valley that are doing something like this? I feel like this is really a unique thing here that East Penn's trying to offer. And, you have so many different outside organizations coming in and different local colleges and all these different experts in the field. It seems like, this is like set up like one of these like big fancy conferences here, and you're basically getting a big fancy conference like delivered to your computer for free. So is there anybody else in the Lehigh Valley doing something like this?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
So it's just really unique that like East Penn's taken on this initiative, and it's grown, like Ms. Cignarella was saying, over the last couple of years, from a couple of years ago in 2019, and then not having it last year to where it is now. So because it says on your website that this is mostly geared towards parents and families. So for the students that are listening, you're going to have to kind of get your parents on board, kind of listen to this stuff. But it's also, really important for everyone to kind of hear these things. So I'm not asking you to pick a favorite or a most important one. There's so many different topics. But can you just give the people listening a little taste of some of the different topics that will be discussed in some of these, and kind of how they were chosen? Because there's so many different aspects of mental health affecting, because it's for students in all grade levels from K to 12. So it's not just based for ninth graders, even though we're doing our ninth grade show here today, and we'll talk slightly about that if there's anything geared for that group. But like, what are some of the areas, and how did you guys arrive at those choices? So whoever wants to take that here, they're playing nice on Zoom. Everyone's unmuted, but then the question, and if you can't see it if you're listening, but they all start like kind of looking, but you can't really look at each other. So they're all waiting for somebody to jump in. So I don't know if I need to call on somebody, because they're all so good at Zoom etiquette, but whoever wants to jump in can talk.
I think the one presentation that sticks out for me is family conflict and communication. Provided by Valley Youth House. I think with COVID-19 and all of us being stuck in home with all of our family members, it's really easy to kind of get caught up in, our arguments with one another, and we don't have our opportunity to go out and be doing our own thing. We're kind of stuck together. And so I think it's really important, to kind of talk about ways that we can kind of manage these situations and work through our frustrations and our worries, rather than just fighting with one another.
And is that session, and we'll kind of touch, there's going to be like two methods of presentation. One is going to be like, you can just go on and watch all the videos at one point, and then there's going to be live panels. Is the one that you just referenced, is that going to be one of the ones that you can watch on demand?
Yes, they'll be able to watch, and the facilitator will also be part of one of the mini panels in the second week.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the way we did it was, there are many different topics that that we have in the symposium, but we kind of grouped them into 4 overarching umbrellas. So parenting would be one, supporting school success would be a second, mental health disorders and trends would be a third, and then conflict and safety would be a fourth. And those are actually the 4 mini panel discussions that are going to be offered on 4 separate dates. They're the only things that you can attend live. And in those live discussions, we have many of them are filled with the presenters who did the asynchronous presentations that you can listen to for the entire 2 weeks. But what's really nice is there's going to be some prepared questions, but when you sign up and register, you also get to fill out a link to indicate if you have any questions that you would like the presenters to touch upon. So those will be monitored by the facilitator in that mini panel. And you have questions, and even if you have a question while you're talking, while the presenters are talking in the mini panel, you can put it in the chat, and you can try to get those questions answered. Because when we had our initial mental health symposium in 2019, that we were actually only able to have before this one, we had feedback that a lot of parents wanted that interaction. But we also wanted to increase how many people were able to attend. So this was a way of letting people view as many presentations as they possibly could, and also give them an opportunity to have an interactive experience, but also tailor it to any of the mini panels of topics of interest that they wanted to attend. So for me, I don't know that I could say there's any one particular one that's most pronounced. I think a lot of them, I'll say this, a lot of the presentations and our presenters did tie in the COVID related difficulties that come with those conditions and those challenges. So parenting or schooling, and how to navigate those pieces. I know we had a parent who already has signed up and asked a question asking, how do I help my senior prepare for, and give them hope in moving forward with where they may not have the typical activities that they typically would in a non-COVID year, like prom and graduation.
That is a deep question. If the person who gets that question can solve it, they have the $1 million idea. Because I think the students from last year struggled through that. The students, this year, we're in the process of trying to stay as hybrid as possible, but we're, some weeks we're good, some weeks we're not. So it's hard to kind of keep that going, but that's a great question. So how about you, Ms. Shirvinski? Is there one of the areas that, maybe you helped coordinate, or you were kind of had a hand in, or just maybe one of the ones that you kind of would highlight for the people listening or watching?
I don't know. I think I'm kind of leaning to, I'll second a lot of what Mrs. Cignarella said, because I really, out of COVID, it was, with our mental health symposium last year getting canceled, that was kind of a bummer. We had it ready to go and then we couldn't do it. And going virtual this year, even though, nobody had wanted to do that, it actually became something that has allowed us to touch more people. More people are able to attend. More people are able to learn something from this event. Because one of the things we ran into in 2019 was, when do we have it? We have it on a Saturday morning. People have scheduling conflicts. People have all kinds of activities going on, and they just can't make it. Not that they're not interested, but couldn't make it. This way, you can more easily, you can fit it more easily into your schedule. So it's actually like we have a greater following now, even though, nobody wanted COVID or anything. It actually forced us to kind of revamp what we were doing and try to, rethink what we were doing. And the other nice thing about it is people can kind of pick and choose what they're interested in and what their needs are. When we had the event in person, the problem we ran into is we had to limit people to the amount that they could choose. So the nice thing about this is you can, kind of pick and choose what your needs are and how they can be supported. I would say, there are so many great presentations. So to pick one, it's really, really difficult. But I will say there are a bunch of presentations that do incorporate different strategies and interests for the sorry, this is my daughter.
It's all right. We knew somebody was eventually going to run in.
Yeah.
Whether, like we said, I told them before we recorded, either a dog or a human will run in, and that's okay, because people.
I apologize.
It wasn't you wearing a cat
right,
outfit,
hi,
so that's
and then
okay.
You need to go in the other room, okay?
And it's kind of an example here of what we talked about earlier, is just kind of dealing with all these different things, and, helping your students to deal with these things as well too. We're all living in this new, I'm not going to say it. I said it, new normal. We're all dealing in this virtual world and the way that we're doing it right now. So, these are the things that happen. And when you're listening to your sessions, the asynchronous sessions, you can, if kids run in or dogs run in or husbands or wives run in or anybody runs in, you can just pause the video and not worry about missing any of the information there. So again, that's one of the cool little perks here of the way that the symposium's running this year. So we've kind of talked a little bit about the exact way to access all the different stuff here. So we'll just kind of start to wind down here a little bit so people can figure out where they need to go. And kind of all the different logistics behind it. What I will tell you to do, and this is how I found my information out, is I just went to Google and I put in East Penn Mental Health Symposium, and the first link that came up was the link to the website through the school district to get you to where you need to go to. So if you're a parent listening or a student listening, or you want to just find out what's going on, or a community member, the easiest way to find it is to just go to Google and type that in. We're going to link in the show notes to the website as well, so you can find it as easier there too. But I think the people that got it together here, they want to explain a couple things, especially with signing up for the live synchronous presentations, because you do have to sign up in advance, because you have to get a link for those. You can't just kind of show up and do that. So if you want to, so we know starting on the 15th and going through the 28th, all of the asynchronous presentations will be available on the website, which will give you, it's sites.google.com. Ooh, I have it up still. sites.google.com/eastpennsd.org/ Virtua Mental Health Symposium 2021-home. And I know everyone that's listening right now just wrote that down and committed it to memory, but we'll have that link in the show notes for you. But so you can listen to those at any point. But somebody want to jump in and just tell people the week of February 22nd is when they're doing the days of live sessions. So Hal, if I'm listening and I watch the episodes or I watch all the different things the first week and I'm like, I really like that person, I want to hear them speak live, how do I do that?
So you on the main website, when you click on the link, you can go at the top. One of the tabs that you can select is mini panel discussions. And on that page, you're going to see those 4 main topics that I talked about: the parenting, the supporting school success, mental health disorders and trends, and conflict and safety. And beneath each of those those main headings, is a link for you to register. And when you register, an email is going to email you directly your Zoom link information. So you can log in, you can sign up for one, you can sign up for all 4. It doesn't matter, whatever it is your interests are. And then below each of the registration links is a pre-panel questionnaire that we ask parents and participants to complete so that we have an idea of kind of the demographics of who's participating, and gives us an idea of what questions they may have for our panelists. So that questionnaire is important because we're going to use that information prior to the panel discussions to incorporate any additional questions that might come up. But again, parents or participants will have the ability to ask questions during the panel itself. So the Monday, the 22nd, will be parenting from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday, February 23rd, will be supporting school success from 7 to 8 p.m. February 24th, Wednesday will be mental health trends and disorders. And then Thursday, the 25th, will be conflict and safety. All of them are at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the evening. All the information is listed on the website, and along with all of our contact information. So if you ever had any questions or having any difficulties, you can always reach out to one of us and we would be happy to help with that.
Awesome. And I'm going to throw an idea out there for 2022. How about like mental health and podcasting or something where, I don't know, I'm just trying to get myself involved in this in some way, but I think it's a great thing that you were all put together here. It's awesome when we see things that are like in-house grown to such a level. I did want to end with one just quick question. So I'm a parent and I'm listening to this, and, I feel like my son or daughter or my child is like kind of struggling. What should I do? Like, obviously we want parents to listen and take all this in, but like, if there's something that you're viewing as like a real issue, what is a parent, what should they do? Kind of, we have different levels here kind of that can give us that opinion, but like, what should I do?
Struggling is a pretty broad term, Mr. Suchko.
Well, we've already been close to a half an hour, so we don't have time to go. I know we could go struggling many different ways. We're just going to call a blanket, I look at the list of things that are there. My kid might benefit from listening to one or two of them, but I know that like first semester, my student struggled. And second semester starting off the same way, or, they loved playing basketball and now it's been taken away through different things. Like, just as a general statement of like, you see your kid struggling, what resources or what should they do? Like, not necessarily waiting till one of these dates or the live sessions on the 22nd. What should they do?
Honestly, I think the first thing is just show them grace. Show yourself grace with the challenges that we're all in, and talk. That's the biggest thing. And that goes back to what Mrs. Williams said about like that family communication being one of the, being pretty important. being able to just talk about the frustrations that you have, being able to decide, hey, I know this has been an issue and this is something that we've been, maybe butting heads about. There's this presentation on sleep, or there's this presentation on anxiety. We should, why don't we watch this together? Or, do we think this is something that we should talk to our family doctor about? Is this something that you want to speak with your school counselor about? I've had conversations with students who the reason they've come to me is because after a conversation with their parents about what they've been feeling, they've made the choice to reach out for help. So it all starts with a conversation.
Mm-hmm. I would second, like, the relationship between a parent and a child is so important, so just work on building that relationship and spending time together. And once you have that relationship, you can have those tough conversations about, what the student is struggling with. And I do want to mention, like, on our website, there are summaries of each that were written by the presenters of each topic. So that could be, to narrow it down, because there are a lot of presentations, a lot of video recordings. You might not have the time to fit them all in, but using those summaries to kind of gear what you're seeing with your child, and maybe watching those videos are really important.
And how about you, Ms. Williams? Anything you want to add in from the community and schools perspective? I know you're you kind of straddle lots of different fences in your position, but how about, what would you recommend for parents or students to do in that situation?
I think I worry that students and parents aren't comfortable to reach out for support. You guys you're not alone in the struggles. We're all kind of experiencing it and going through it together. And I want everyone to feel comfortable to reach out to your school counselor, reach out to your school psychologist, reach out to your CIS site coordinator, or your teachers, and just say, hey, this is what we're dealing with. Can you point me in the right direction of someone that can help? There's nothing to be ashamed of. We all need each other to kind of get through the challenges of life. So
I think that's a great way to end it. So much great information in this episode, a lot of stuff to take in. And, you have the weekend to kind of preview the website, look at all the different things you can have access to, and then have at it for the next couple of weeks. So thanks again to Mrs. Cignarella, to Mrs. Williams, and to Mrs. Shirvinski for joining us today here and talking about this really cool initiative here in the East Penn School District. So thank you very much. Good luck to everything. And can't wait to tune into some of them myself, since I'm a parent of 3 kids in the district. I guess it would be in my best interest to watch some of these too. So thank you very much for doing this, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Stensko.
Thank you.